On my 29th birthday, my husband gave me a bottle of perfume. I sprayed it without thinking much about it and promptly went into anaphylactic shock, which landed me in the emergency room. After I'd recovered from the worst of it, my husband, Leo Vance, came to see me in my hospital room. He wasn't alone, he brought his childhood friend Sophia, who was carrying a basket of flowers. Seeing them together, I calmly told him I wanted a divorce. Sophia immediately stepped in front of him, her eyes filling with tears as she apologized to me. Clara, please don't be mad at Leo. It was my idea to give you the perfume. I just thought the scent would be perfect for you. Leo pulled her into a hug to comfort her, then looked at me with clear irritation. Don't come to regret this, he said, and then they left. We didn't see each other again for another month. After I was released from the hospital, I went back to our apartment to rest for a while before heading to the larger house we owned. The housekeeper informed me that Leo had only come back once, right after I was hospitalized, and hadn't been back since. This didn't surprise me. He had other places to stay, including an apartment he shared with Sophia. I went to the study, found a USB drive, and printed out the divorce agreement I had prepared. I signed both copies and then gave Leo a call. He came home late that night, holding a gift bag. When he saw me sitting on the living room sofa, he spoke to me casually. Could you make me some soup to settle my stomach? I had a business dinner with Mr. Chen tonight and had a bit too much to drink. My stomach is bothering me. He tossed the gift bag onto the sofa and went straight upstairs to the bedroom. After a shower, he changed into his pajamas and came back down. He noticed I hadn't moved the bag and picked it up, handing it to me. This is a late birthday present for you. I didn't reach for it, so he placed it on my lap. I stood up and put the bag on the table beside me. Aren't you going to open it and see what it is? He asked. I tried to smile but couldn't quite manage it. Looking at him, I thought about all the similar gift bags we had in the house. I already knew what would be inside. Ever since we were married, he never put much effort into my gifts. They were always expensive skincare, handbags, or jewelry, but the styles were always the same, as if he picked them out in a few minutes without any real thought. He never seemed to realize that I often left his gifts unopened for months. That one bottle of perfume was the only exception, with its unique packaging. I had opened it and sprayed it, a decision I regretted instantly. It was a rose-based scent, and I'm severely allergic to roses. I can't even be around the smell. I picked up the divorce papers from the coffee table and held them out to him. This is the divorce agreement. I had a lawyer draft it. Please look it over, and if you have no objections, you can sign it. He seemed stunned for a moment and didn't take the papers. Did you make the soup? I'll go check, he said, getting up and heading to the kitchen. He came back a moment later, his expression grim. You didn't cook anything. I'm tired, I said. I don't feel like doing anything. His stomach must have genuinely been hurting as he pressed a hand against it before sitting down next to me on the sofa. I tried to ignore him, but he put his arm around my waist and apologized softly. Clara, I'm sorry about what happened. I've been so busy lately, that's why I asked Sophia to help me pick out a gift. How about this? I'll make a reservation at a nice restaurant tomorrow, and we can celebrate your birthday properly. I shook my head, gently removing his hand from my waist and moving a little farther away from him. His face hardened. Is this really all because of that bottle of perfume? It was never just about the perfume. It was about the fact that our story had come to an end. He was thinking of other things, and I was moving in a different direction. We were no longer the main characters in a simple love story. The truth was, I had regained my memories the day after our wedding. I remembered that I was the female lead in a romance novel, a beautiful, intelligent, and popular girl who was allergic to roses. Leo was the handsome, reserved male lead who suffered from stomach problems and was completely devoted to me. We had a perfect 4-year relationship in college. After our graduation party, we ended up having a child together. My morning sickness was terrible, and Leo, feeling sorry for me, insisted that I shouldn't work and promised he would take care of us. The pregnancy was difficult, and he would often talk to my belly, telling our son Daniel to stop making me sick. But shortly after I remembered all this, Sophia Reed returned from her studies abroad and began working as Leo's executive assistant at his family's company. I then learned that her parents, who had been close friends with Leo's parents, had passed away, and the Vance family had taken her in. They had grown up together, and she had always been in love with him. This was a character who had never appeared in the original Sweet Romance. She only showed up after it was supposed to be over. I couldn't entirely blame her. She had told Leo how she felt a long time ago. He knew she loved him, but he kept her close anyway. During my pregnancy, they traveled for business together, went out for drinks together, and attended their high school reunion together. In the beginning, I would get jealous, and Leo would just laugh it off. Eventually, I stopped saying anything, and Sophia quietly inserted herself between us, where she has remained ever since. And now he was asking me if this was all because of a bottle of perfume. I felt a sense of pity. The perfume was just the final push I needed. Leo, I've wanted a divorce for a long time. He frowned, his eyes turning cold. Clara, have you found someone else? Don't be ridiculous, I started to say, but he suddenly lunged at me, pinning me to the sofa. Leo, no! I struggled, but he was too strong. When I saw his hand moving toward my clothes, I slapped him hard across the face. He froze, his eyes red with anger. Clara, don't you forget that you are still my wife. You're saying I can't even touch you anymore? The thought of what had happened because of the perfume, the miscarriage, made my body shake with a cold disgust. I find the thought of it repulsive, I said, meeting his gaze without flinching. Finally, he got off me and slumped onto the floor, laughing bitterly. So that's it. No wonder you want a divorce. Who is he? I didn't answer. Leo grabbed his coat from the sofa and walked toward the door. If you think you can divorce me, you're dreaming. And you better hide him well. If I find out who he is, I'll kill him. As he was about to leave, a sharp pain went through my chest. Leo, I called out. He stopped but didn't turn around. Do you love me? I asked. He was silent. If you loved me, I continued, would you keep Sophia, a woman who has been in love with you for years, by your side? If you loved me, would you have let your mother take my son away from me and raise him in another country? From the moment he agreed to let his mother take our son, I started to question his love for me. He finally turned to look at me, a confused expression on his face. We let my mother take him so we could have some time to ourselves as a couple. That's what you wanted, wasn't it? No, that was your idea, not mine. I carried that child for 10 months. I would never send him so far away just for couple time. That's not who I am. He shook his head, but we agreed to have a second child. I started to laugh, a hollow sound. I lost the baby. The perfume sent me into anaphylactic shock, and I had a miscarriage. The look on his face was beyond just unpleasant. Why didn't you tell me when I came to the hospital, he demanded. I was going to tell you on my birthday, but you never came home. You sent Sophia with the perfume instead. What good would it have done to tell you at the hospital? He was quiet for a long time before finally saying, we can have another child. No, Leo, let's just get a divorce. If we don't, I don't know what I'm capable of doing next. I walked over to him with the divorce papers. Sign them. He took them from me and asked, what about you, Clara? Do you still love me? I couldn't answer. Had I stopped loving him then, or had it been a long time ago? It was a long time ago, he said, as if answering for me. You stopped being so attached to me. When I would travel for work, you stopped telling me to be safe. When I drank, you stopped telling me to drink less. The longest I was away was for a business trip to Moscow. I waited for 10 days, and you never sent me a single message. Just like tonight, when my stomach was hurting, you didn't seem to care at all. Clara, you were the one who stopped loving me first. I don't cling to you because you're always with Sophia, and there's no room for me, I shot back. I stopped asking about your trips because she would post pictures of the two of you together. I don't tell you to drink less because you're always drinking on her behalf. And when you were in Moscow, I didn't message you because I saw pictures of you and Sophia dancing together in a club. I didn't want to interrupt. And tonight, you're right. I don't love you anymore, Leo. I'm making room for Sophia. I hope you'll both be very happy. Leo clutched the divorce agreement, his eyes bloodshot, and then he tore it into shreds before storming out of the house. I had the housekeeper clean up the torn paper, and I went back to the study and printed 10 more copies of the agreement. An hour later, I saw a new post on Sophia's social media. It was a selfie of her sitting on the edge of a bed where Leo was sleeping. Her caption read, "The man I love never learned how to love himself. If you don't love him, why can't you just let him go? Why do you have to torment him?" Holding the 10 fresh copies of the divorce papers, I drove to Sophia's house. When I knocked on the door, Sophia answered, "Clara, what are you doing here?" As she spoke, the sound of laughter from the living room suddenly stopped. I looked past her and saw my son, Daniel, sitting on the sofa playing with toys, while Leo's mother sat next to him. In that moment, I felt a surge of pure rage. I looked at my son and asked, "Daniel, when did you and Grandma get back?" He just stared at me like I was a stranger. I fought down my anger, walked over to him, and reached out to give him a hug, but he scrambled away in fear, running to Sophia and yelling, "Mommy, who is this lady?" I shot a look at Leo's mother, then at Sophia, who looked slightly guilty but picked Daniel up anyway, whispering to him not to be afraid. My heart felt like it was breaking. I ignored the child for a moment and asked Sophia, "Where is Leo?" "He's asleep," she said. "I saw your post. I know he's sleeping." "Which room is he in?" She pointed to a door, and I walked past her, went into the room, turned on the light, and locked the door. Leo was asleep in the bed. On the nightstand was a photo of him, Sophia, and my son, like a perfect little family. I wanted to smother him with the pillow, but I knew it wasn't worth it. Instead, I slapped him hard, 4 times, waking him up. He looked at me, shocked. "Clara, what is wrong with you?" I scratched his face, drawing blood. "You ask what's wrong with me?" I grabbed the photo from the nightstand, smashed the frame against the corner of this dresser, and tore the picture to pieces. Just then, I heard Daniel's voice from outside the door, calling for his daddy. Leo seemed to finally understand what was happening. "Clara, I can explain," he said. "My mom just got back yesterday. I was going to tell you at the family dinner tomorrow night." Hearing his words, tears streamed down my face. Why did Daniel call her mom? I carried him for 10 months. How could he call someone else his mother? "Leo, is this your idea of loving me?" He clenched his jaw. "Come to the house tomorrow evening and I'll explain everything." "I'll be waiting for your explanation," I said. When I left the room, Daniel was standing there, looking nervously from me to Leo. I felt so defeated. I wiped my tears, knelt in front of my son, and forced a smile. "Daniel, I'm your mommy. You grew up inside my tummy and a doctor helped you come out. I even have a scar on my belly to prove it." He looked confused and said softly, "Ask Dad. Isn't she my mom?" He looked at Leo, who opened his mouth to speak, but his mother's sharp voice cut him off. "Leo, don't you forget what you promised me." He closed his mouth. The old woman then coaxed Daniel over to her. He had been raised by her for years, so of course he went to her. I stood up and faced Sophia. "You don't need to look so triumphant. I'm in the middle of a divorce with Leo. I brought 10 more copies of the papers with me. If I hadn't found my son and his grandmother here, I might have even asked you to help me get him to sign them. It's a shame, really. Now I think I'd rather watch the two of you become a public scandal." I put the documents back in my bag and left. Once I was out of there, I called my best friend Maya, who was living overseas. "I need you to do me a favor," I said, after explaining that my son was calling Sophia his mom. She was furious on my behalf. "Help me find a detective to look into her time studying abroad. See if there's anything unusual you can find." The next day, my email was full of videos and photos. They showed Sophia at parties while she was pregnant. Later, she suffered a miscarriage that resulted in complications, and she had to have a hysterectomy. She could never have children of her own. I printed the photos, put them in my bag with the divorce papers, and, after a moment of thought, added a small hammer. Later that day, Leo came to pick me up to go to his parents' house. He had a bandage on his cheek where I had scratched him. The atmosphere at the house was tense. When Daniel saw me, he timidly called me Mom. I smiled and patted his head, but when Sophia walked in, he ran to her, calling her Mom again. Any calm I had managed to find disappeared. At dinner, Leo's sister Isabel snapped at me for my lack of table manners. Leo defended me, but the tension was thick. I looked at Isabel and asked loudly, Do you think Miss Reed is more cultured than I am? I suppose someone like me would never attend a group party while pregnant. Right, Sophia? Everyone's expression changed. Amid his mother's shouting, I sent Daniel out of the room with the nanny. Then I threw the photos of Sophia onto the table. Her face went pale. Isabel and her husband grabbed them, staring in disbelief. Clara, are you out of your mind? Where did you get these? Leo demanded. I ignored him and looked at his mother. No wonder you wanted my son to call her mom. It turns out she can't even have children of her own. What a wonderful woman to force on your son. His mother was speechless with rage. Divorce! Get a divorce right now, she screamed. Fine by me, I said. I've wanted one for a long time. It's your son who won't agree. Leo tried to take the photos, telling me my patience had a limit and that I should apologize to Sophia. What am I enduring? I asked him. And then I pulled the hammer out of my bag and smashed it down on the glass turntable in the center of the table. It shattered, sending shards everywhere. Amid the screaming and chaos, Sophia grabbed a piece of broken glass and tried to put it in her mouth. She's having another episode, his mother yelled. Get her to the hospital. Leo grabbed the glass from Sophia, cutting his hand, and rushed her out of the house with his mother right behind him. No one was paying attention to Daniel, so I went to the living room and asked him if he wanted to come with me. I took him from that house, and we left. I bought a motorcycle, and we started a road trip south, meeting other riders and having the time of our lives. He was only 5, and after a few days of fun, he became attached to me again. It was about a month later, when we were in a small town near the border, that Leo finally contacted me. Where are you? He asked. If you've signed the divorce papers, they're in the study, I said. He was silent for a moment, then asked, Who's that man in your social media pictures? I had posted a lot of photos, but I found the one he meant. A picture of me and a young, smiling man who was standing behind me. So it's because of him, isn't it? He said. That's why you want a divorce. I laughed. Leo, you still don't get it. This was never about anyone else. It was about you and your mother letting Sophia walk all over me and try to take my son. Sign the papers so we can both move on. He refused. A month and a half after that, he called again. Come back, let's get the divorce. I flew back with Daniel. The signed divorce agreement was on the coffee table. He told me I couldn't have custody of our son. If you had signed it the first day, maybe, I said. But not now. I won't have a woman like that as my son's stepmother. He threatened to take me to court, but I was confident. I asked him to choose. Sophia or Daniel? He took a deep breath and chose Sophia. A part of me was hurt, but mostly I felt relieved. We agreed on the terms. He gave me a generous settlement, including property and company shares for Daniel. We signed the papers. As I was leaving, he asked if I felt sad at all, if our 9 years together meant nothing. I was in unbearable pain for countless nights that you knew nothing about, I told him calmly. I just got through it. We agreed to meet at the Civil Affairs Bureau on Monday morning to finalize everything. But on Monday, he never showed up and wouldn't answer his phone. I couldn't find him for weeks. Finally, I invited his sister Isabel for tea. To my surprise, she came. I asked her if she knew where Leo was. He won't divorce you easily, she said. He loves you so much. I showed her Sophia's social media feed, which was filled with pictures of her and Leo, all set to be visible only to me. Isabel was shocked. She explained that their mother felt indebted to Sophia because her parents had died saving her. After you left that day, she said, Leo told me he felt he owed this to Sophia, that if he hadn't rejected her years ago, she wouldn't have gone through what she did. I told Isabel to pass a message to Leo. If he didn't finalize the divorce in 2 months, I would file in court and give Sophia's medical history to the media. 2 months passed with no word from him, so I hired a lawyer and filed. The case dragged on for over a year. During that time, someone sent me a video of Leo and Sophia living together, looking happy and domestic. With that video as evidence, the divorce was finally granted. At the courthouse, Leo confronted me, demanding to know where I got the video. You went to all that trouble just for a divorce, he said, as if he were the victim. Leo, I said, tired of it all. I saw the video. You two looked happy. This is the 21st century. Stop acting like you're some great tragic lover. It's disgusting. The look on his face told me my words had hit their mark. I walked away with my divorce certificate and never looked back. I took Daniel and we continued our journey. For the first time in years, I felt completely free and we were divorced. I didn't want to let her go, but she left so easily and it wounded me deeply. She had pushed me until I had no choice but to sign the papers. I kept putting off finalizing it, hoping we could somehow fix things. But then she produced the video of me taking care of Sophia. After Sophia's breakdown, she had been diagnosed with a severe mental illness. When she came back, she wanted to be part of the family, and I felt I couldn't say no. We owed her that much. She had told me she only saw me as a brother, and I believed her. I grew tired of Clara's jealousy. I don't know when it happened, but she stopped caring, stopped being affectionate. It felt like she didn't love me anymore. I used Sophia to try to get a reaction from her. I never knew she was seeing all of it until Isabel showed me the social media posts. She had been enduring it all, and in that time, she had quietly cut me out of her heart. By the time she left, she truly didn't love me anymore, and the realization sent me into a panic. I didn't have the courage to face her. When I finally saw her again in court, she was different. Her hair was cut short and dyed purple. She was happy. She was thriving without me. After the divorce, I looked into who sent her the video. The description from the courier led me to suspect Sophia. I showed him her picture and he confirmed it. At that moment, I started to question everything, including her illness. I flew to the country where she had been treated and found her doctor. He admitted my mother had bribed him to fake the diagnosis. Sophia only had a mild, treatable condition. After I returned, I removed my mother from the company's board of directors. If she loved Sophia so much, she could live with her. Sophia cried and begged for my forgiveness, saying she only did it because she loved me. How ironic. One day, I video called my son. He was happy, his purple hair looking wild. "Where's your mom?" I asked. He laughed and turned the camera. "She's on a date with a handsome guy." It was the same young man from the photo, braiding flowers into Clara's hair. It was a bright, glaring image of her new life. I hung up. My stomach started to hurt again. I drove myself to the hospital where a doctor told me I had terminal stomach cancer. I called my lawyer and wrote a will, leaving everything I had to Clara and Daniel. On the 9th of May, 2024, I died. Clara brought Daniel back for my funeral. It was only after my death that I understood. I was the male lead in a romance novel. The author wrote that I was created for Clara and that betraying her would be my end. This was my fate. I accept it. My only regret is that I still love her, and now no one will ever know.